Hey everyone, thank you for joining us. I'm Ed Marquez, and I'm a developer evangelist at Hedera. Today, I'm super excited to have the HashPack team with us. And HashPack, has become one of the key players in the Hedera ecosystem today. So it's going to be great that they're going to tell us more about what they've been working on. And now I'm going to let May, Tyler, and Nick tell you more about their work. And I also want to remind everyone to ask your questions as they present, and then towards the end, we'll get into the Q&A. So, hi, May.
Hi, good afternoon. Hi, all of you hash chads and H barbarians out there, and of course, developers. I have a presentation for you today on behalf of HashPack. We're going to be talking about some of our tech. And so today I'm here as the CEO of HashPack, but also we have the two rock stars of our dev team, Tyler Coté, who is our CTO, and Nick Hanna, who is our CISO. And we are asked to do a technical overview of HashPack and talk about the nuts and bolts. So here we are. So for our presentation today, we'll start with a brief introduction of HashPack for those who aren't familiar with us. Then I'll hand it over to Tyler and Nick, and they'll go into the tech stack and talk about the technologies we use to build HashPack. Following that, we'll talk about HashConnect, which is the signing library that we're building, which will enable transaction signing capabilities on Hedera. And then rounding out the technical discussion, we are going to talk about security considerations that we've taken into account. Security is a critical focus for us, and Nick works professionally on enterprise-grade application security, so he'll be taking over that piece. And then finally, we'll just talk about our roadmap in brief and where HashPack is going, and then kick it off to Q&A. So HashPack is an HBAR wallet that we launched in October last year, but we've been working on it since March of 2021. It started out as a community project where a bunch of the community members were interested in Hedera and we wanted to build something. So we brainstormed a bit and decided that we wanted to make a wallet. And we wanted to make a wallet with a focus on great UI and user experience. So since then, we've been working in our spare time, basically putting in full-time hours to produce the best wallet that we can. And we're really happy with what we've done. So we have a lot of features in HashPack right now, and we're constantly adding more. But here's a snapshot of some of the big features that we have. The big item that I'm sure is on everyone's radar right now is our token and NFT support. We just launched an in-wallet NFT gallery at the beginning of the year, allowing people to view and send NFTs. And this week, we also released a new feature called Secure Trade, which allows people to securely trade their NFTs for HBAR automatically with no escrow, and it automatically calculates and handles things like royalty payments. Another big feature that we'll go into depth in is our account and data security. Security is crucial in the crypto space, and we take it extremely seriously. And I could say more, but Nick will be talking about it, so I'll leave it to him. We also offer the ability to buy HBAR in wallet using MoonPay as a third-party service, which is a great convenience feature for our users. We support Ledger, and we have an extremely simple account creation and import process for ledgers. And so if you have one and you use Hedera, HashPack is the best way to use it, bar none. And other features that we have are address books to track accounts and reduce the need to always type in the same address when you send HBAR. We also have multiple wallets, testnet wallets for development, in-wallet trading view chart. I could go on and on and on. So that's what is HashPack. But another important question to ask is, who is HashPack? And this is our team. We're a team of 4 professionals, and each of us is an industry professional with at least 10 years of experience in our field. There's me. I am handling the business development and external relations. There's Tyler, who is a full stack developer, and he built the interface and NFT functionality. Nick does the back-end heavy lifting. So he worked on Ledger integration, HashConnect, and right now we're looking into mirror nodes as well. And then Jacob is our UI UX designer. He designed the look and feel of the app, the branding, and he also runs the Twitter account. And we run a really tight ship, and you can see the fancy titles on the screen, which we have for convenience, but really we're all deeply involved in multiple aspects of the business, and we all work together to make decisions as a team. So it's an understatement to say that a key part of our success is how well we work together. And as a startup in the space, we all pitch in and cover the weakness of each other, and it ends up being a lot of fun. So That's a brief introduction of HashPack. We've made the best wallet that we can, and our goal is to continue to build tools and features that will accelerate the Hedera ecosystem and drive adoption. We really think that Hedera is something special, and we're proud to be here and part of the community. So let's get into the meat of this presentation. First off, Tyler will be talking about the tech that HashPack is built on.
Hey everybody, as mentioned, I'm Tyler, the CTO of HashPack, as well as the owner of Club HBAR. I'll be walking through our tech stack and how we use the Hashgraph SDK, as well as some findings from our recent NFT implementation. So on the client side, we use Angular and TypeScript, which is a strongly typed version of JavaScript. I'm not going to go too into why we chose Angular, because at the end of the day, frameworks don't really matter that much. You get a web app regardless of the framework you use. On the visual side, we don't use any sort of component libraries like Material Design or anything. They're kind of bloated and hard to work with, hard to customize. So all the CSS, all the animations, all the components, they're all hand coded with the exception of a few tricky ones. We don't really use any sort of like state manager, like Redux or anything. It's just not really applicable to our use case. Server side, we run a pretty lean server side setup. It's a basic Ubuntu DigitalOcean VPS. It's pretty low spec as we don't really do much on it other than deliver the HTML and JavaScript to the users. We use Nginx as the reverse proxy to kind of forward everything to our subdomains and stuff, as well as a Node Express API. Pretty, again, basic setup. We really only have 3 endpoints. One is to create accounts because we need to be able to fund those new accounts. One is to rate limit Dragon Glass requests for transaction history because Dragon Glass charges us every time we do that. And one of them is to encode MoonPay URLs for a very vague reason. On the supporting software side, Jacob uses Figma. It's a prototyping UI design tool. It's really collaborative, super easy to use. On the testing side, we use Cypress for our end-to-end testing. I personally find it easier to do end-to-end testing rather than unit testing. Just testing the outcome of the code rather than the chunks of the code. Cypress is really easy to use, and I just find it a lot faster than unit testing. We use GitHub Actions for our CI/CD pipeline. So what that is when we make changes, push them to GitHub, the CI/CD takes care of running the Cypress test suite against them to make sure there's no like regression issues that we introduced with our new features, as well as doing the build and delivering it to the server and the Chrome extension store. Next slide, please. So our integration with the Hedera. So all the SDK actions are handled client side, other than the initial account creation, because we need to fund it with our own keys and stuff. Subsequent account creation is funded by the user's initial account. So you only need to hit the server for the first account creation. Otherwise, it uses the funds in the user's wallet to create the account. We don't think that users should be charged to view information. So we use mirror nodes to query information such as transaction history, current balances, token information, and NFT inventory. There's not that many great mirror node resources out there. So we are working on setting up our own. currently, we use Dragon Glass for transaction history, and the rest is using the public Hedera mirror node, which comes with its own set of challenges. So the eventual kind of end goal of this is that our app should be able to run even if our servers are down. So currently the extension will work that way, as all of the kind of like client files are hosted on the user's device. And once we have a desktop and mobile app, eventually it'll kind of act the same. So if our server goes down, it's decentralized. Yeah, could you go to the next slide? So we did recently introduce the NFT and token integration, and we had some findings we thought we'd share. For anyone who has tried to work with displaying NFTs, you'll know that robust NFT support is pretty tricky. There's a lot of file types, there's a lot of metadata setups, and while most of the buzz is around the art world at the moment, general purpose wallets like ours kind of needs to be able to handle all kinds of things like documents and books, music, all that stuff. So the metadata structure of non-art NFTs has the potential to be very different. As such, implementing a sort of dynamic system for parsing the metadata is the route we chose to go. We're basically doing a recursive tree search, looking for certain patterns that allow us to know that the field is an asset and then handling it as such. We also need to be able to find the file types, and sometimes like a IPFS link doesn't have a file type, so you need to query that CID to get like its MIME type from the server. So there's a lot of kind of weird edge cases with that. When it comes to NFT creators, it's important that they consider the standards when creating minting tools. Not only does it help us display your NFTs, but it helps you by ensuring your NFT is supported in the most apps possible, because apps will support the standards. Legacy NFTs, as we call them, they're not yet supported in HashPack, and neither are non-IPFS NFTs. So this is something we're trying to solve for. But if you're still minting NFTs as fungible tokens, please consider not doing that anymore. And the last point I have on consuming NFT endpoints, from what I could tell, Dragon Glass doesn't support NFT data. And unless you want to charge the user or set up your own mirror node, your options are pretty limited for getting that data. I know there's discussion around making endpoints that return all NFTs owned by an account. But for the time being, if you're implementing NFTs, just be ready for a lot of trial and error in getting that data into your app. Yeah, I think that's mostly what I have. I'm gonna pass it off to Nick here, and he'll talk about HashConnect a bit.
Hey, thanks, Tyler. Everyone, hope everybody's doing pretty good. So what is HashConnect? Well, HashConnect is a transaction signing protocol. It allows for MetaMask type interactions between wallets and dApps, for example, pairing and transaction signing. It's currently in developer beta, and we're fielding feedback from the beta testers and buttoning it up over time. We want to get it out as soon as we can. We feel it'll enable the ecosystem. Some of the notable features are it's open source. Everybody loves open source. It's great. Plug and play, can drop it into a dApp or wallet and use it. And we've taken some care to make it a robust architecture to anticipate any kind of growth and the volume of transactions and stuff. Next slide, please. So why build our own library? Why not use something off the shelf like a WalletConnect or something like that? And we asked ourselves this question, and when we did a deep dive into WalletConnect to determine the usability for our use case, it came down to one key difference. It was built with JSON RPC in mind versus gRPC. Generally speaking, Ethereum and many other chains use JSON RPC to interact versus Hedera, who uses gRPC. There are other differences, but that are kind of out of scope of the conversation. But that was the key one. HashConnect also handles transaction signing on Hedera. We wanted to do this in a transaction agnostic way, and the best way to do that was build our own library. The architecture of it is cool. I like this. It's using a tool called Waku, and Waku is a decentralized encrypted messaging relay, and it's the same thing that MetaMask and WalletConnect use for signing and for transmitting data. And we're using it to transmit transaction information and sign transactions from between wallets and DMs. And I'm going to give it back to Tyler because he's going to show you a demo of it.
Okay, so this is a demo of HashConnect, and it's kind of a basic example, but it kind of shows what we're going for. On the left is a DApp, and on the right is HashPack. So if you go ahead and play that video. So they're going to hit pair. There's a QR code, a text code, or you can one-click pair with an extension. You plug it in here to this connect thing. You click what wallet you want to connect with, approve that. And then this will show how to make a NFT. So we're just entering the basic kind of NFT info here, including royalties. So this app's actually on GitHub. That will be public once we release it to the public, and you can kind of see all the code that drives this. So it displays all the info, and there, look, made a token. So that's how simple it is, and very quick. So now we'll mint a NFT into that token. Put the token ID in that gets returned once the user creates the token. Pop the metadata in there. Send that across to the wallet for signing. And it's a little dev art, but you hit approve, and the NFT is now minted. So it'll go to the NFT tab, refresh the data, and you've got an NFT. Got the royalty there, all that stuff. And this last one will just show how it handles the just a normal token. It's basically the same, except it has a supply, no royalties. Send it over. There's all the info. Hits approve. And there, a token has been made. It shows up in your wallet. So that's a demo of HashConnect.
So if you'd like to know more about HashConnect, you can check out our website or join our Discord and talk to us. And like Tyler said, we're currently in closed beta, but we hope to put out the public release soon. And if that was a bit too quick for you to see what was going on, everything that Tyler was doing was being approved by the wallet. And that was done over the internet without sharing any private keys or anything like that. So exactly like what you would do with MetaMask. Next up, Nick is going to talk about the security features of HashPack and what goes into making our wallet secure.
Thanks, Matt. So security is top of mind and extremely important to us. And I want to talk about what we do and some of the things we've considered with HashPack. Also the things we perceive as direct threats as well as external threats. And finally, I'd like to talk about some of the procedures and policies we have in place. So first is cryptography. We're using industry standard cryptography to secure sensitive information. It's NIST approved algorithms, pretty good stuff. All sensitive data is encrypted with PBKDF2, which is a password-based key derivation function using user's password. Sensitive data never leaves the device. It's always stored on the device. Private keys are never transmitted over the wire. We have a 12-character password requirement. And because longer passwords are more secure, and that's what we want to do. We want to be secure. Next slide, please. So the first thing that we looked into was the OWASP Top 10, which is a list of the top 10 most common security risks faced by web applications. This list is updated every 3 or 4 years, and we've taken great care to button up everything we can from this perspective, such as misconfigurations or access control. But out of all the many potential risks that we face, we feel that cross-site scripting is the most critical, and it's the one I'd like to touch on. The reason why we feel it's the most critical is because there's a possibility for sensitive data to be exfiltrated. If an attacker can execute a cross-site scripting payload, it could potentially lead to compromise of private keys, which would lead to loss of funds or anything you have on that account, NFTs, whatever. Nobody wants that. We don't want that. You don't want that. So we've taken steps to mitigate that. And the first one is Angular. Angular we're using, as Tyler mentioned, with UI, and it treats all data incoming as untrusted and sanitizes it. The next thing is the app architecture. Nothing's being persisted on a server to be returned. So there's no persistent cross-site scripting there. This is a decentralized application, of course. And nothing's rendered directly to the DOM from a response or a URL parameter or anything like that. We've also don't have any eval calls or anything like that. That's going to just arbitrarily take code. But I think the most important thing that we do is we have a very security-minded coding practice. We're very careful with data. We avoid carelessness wherever possible. And I feel that secure apps start with secure development, and I think that's really the thing that sets that apart. Next slide, please. So external threats. This one's interesting. I would consider like an external threat something that we can't directly influence. And a good example of this is malware on a user's device, specifically like a keylogger. And this is relevant to us because we use passwords to encrypt and decrypt data. And if there's a keylogger on somebody's device, it could definitely be taken. This also doesn't just apply to HashPack. This would present a risk for anything that takes a password, depending on the type of malware, right? If it's a web-based versus like an application that's been installed on your device. Another one that's come up is DNS spoofing or DNS cache poisoning. There was another wallet on a different chain that had an issue with this. There was an upstream ISP that was compromised. Attackers disseminated forged routing data, and the attacker server appeared to control the address that belonged to this wallet, and the wallet was targeted and funds were lost. And while you can't really prevent an external organization from being compromised, you can inform your users about what it may look like in terms of your application. And in this case, there was a new SSL cert that had to be accepted. And that would have been a huge red flag if users were reporting that. Another one that I also find very, very interesting is 0 days, which are vulnerabilities that are in code that no one's discovered yet, or they have and not really disclosed it. And one of the worst ones in recent memory was Log4j. And the initial compromise could not have been predicted by automated tools, but the subsequent updates to address the issue could have automatically been applied with integration of tools like DependentBot, for example. And what we do to kind of counteract this the best we can is we stay vigilant as a team. We're all interested in security. We all do our part with that. We stay informed of the latest security news, apply relevant patches, keep everything up to date. Watch for notices of compromise in the ecosystem, or specifically our tech stack, and get that remediated immediately. We're also taking some steps to educate users about what a red flag may look like. And in the case of the wallet on the other chain there, it was a new SSL cert. And I also feel that this is very important in its community interaction. It's going to allow us to field and triage like user reports of suspicious activity. A lot of the time, this doesn't really lead to anything new, but in the times that it does, it can be critical. One of these red flags should really be prevented or be addressed before they become a problem. Next slide, please. So we all like to be pretty vigilant and pretty proactive, and I feel this is critical. So one of the things that we do is static analysis prior to release. So we run some automated analysis on new code and see kind of what any new bugs that have been introduced or any new security concerns that have been introduced, and we correct them before the release goes out. We also have Dependabot, which is a third-party vulnerability scanner that's been integrated into our repository. That's going to alert us to issues with the version, and you can even set it up to update it automatically for you to a non-vulnerable version. And I would definitely recommend that. It's a great tool. I've used a few different tools for that purpose, and I like this one the best. We also do some dynamic testing of the attack surface using something like Burp Suite and Zap to try to fuzz and try to break in points, find exploitable stuff in the attack surface. And kind of future looking, we've got an external security audit planned. And I feel like this is something that helps the community feel at ease. And it's another data point for the security program. Can definitely help us. And finally, I'd like to touch briefly on some of the stuff we do, like as an organization. We've got some security policies in place. For example, like the static analysis on release, that's a security policy. We've set that up for the organization. And I feel like policies are great because they provide a framework, right? If anybody has a question or if there's any kind of issue, they can always reference our organizational policy. And it puts a plan in place to follow for us. It provides a structured approach to application security and security in general on an organizational level. It's built into the process. And I also feel that it's future and growth oriented. We want to be secure forever, and you want us to be too. Everybody wants to be secure. And maybe one day we'll have more people working with us, and these policies will serve as a guide on security. Thank you.
Obviously, I started talking without unmuting. Thanks, Nick. As you can see, we put a lot of thought into the security of our app and our processes, and we will continue to keep security at the top of our priorities. In the future, we're hoping to release some documentation on HashPack's security features and plans for mitigating risks. We also plan to have a security audit performed on our code base, just like Nick said, just to put the community at ease. So that's it for our technical discussion, and I hope that was interesting. And to round out the presentation, let's just talk quickly about what's coming up in the pipeline for HashPack. So first and foremost, we have HashConnect being released in the near future. And with that coming out, we're putting a lot into collaborating with projects and getting them integrated with HashConnect. And there are a lot of projects that are waiting patiently for HashConnect to come out. So I really expect there to be an explosion of dApps coming out this year due to this. In the future, we want to flesh out our fungible token support and look into getting things like USDC running on HashPack. USDC is a stable coin that is tied with the US dollar, and it is also present on a number of chains. And they're really interesting in that they offer fiat on and off boarding, and you can swap between the different chains, like the different versions of USDC automatically and for free. So we're going to look into that. It's very interesting to us. We also have some quality of life features planned. And a lot of people have been asking for cosmetic features like themes and profile pics. So that's on the radar too. And in the future, as the ecosystem grows, we are going to be exploring partnerships with swaps and bridges to really take Hedera DeFi to the next level. And also, one of the most common questions we get is there an app coming for the phone, for desktop? And the answer is yes, it's on the roadmap, literally on the roadmap. We are going to get to it as soon as we can. So looking at the big picture, we see HashPack as an enabler of the ecosystem. And we are the connection between the users and the dApps. And it's our job to make that interface as seamless and user-friendly as possible. And Hedera is a great platform, and there's so much potential out there. We really see Hedera as the future of Web3. So there's still a ton of work to do, but we're excited and proud to be part of this ecosystem. And that's it for a presentation. Thank you to Hedera for inviting us to this meetup and giving us the opportunity to talk more in depth about the technical parts of HashPack. And thanks to Tyler and Nick for joining me here. And of course, big thanks to our fourth team member, Jacob, who wasn't invited because this is a developer focused presentation and he's a filthy designer. So he wasn't invited. But that said, his efforts can't be understated. And we've worked really hard on the UI and user experience. And that's all the stuff that Jacob designs. And that's what the users see when they use the app. So yeah, it's really important. But of course, the wallet only works as well as it does because of the solid technical foundations that we built it on. And we still have some kinks and there's still some things to improve, but I think we produced a really professional product that can set the standard for applications on Hedera. So we hope that this presentation provided an interesting and insightful glimpse under the hood of HashPack, and we look forward to more collaborations with Hedera in the future. Thanks.
Awesome. That was excellent, May, Nick, and Tyler. I'm sure I speak for the community when I say thank you so much for the time and for all the work that goes into making HashPack so useful and so great. So right now, if you have any questions, be sure to add them in the chat, and then we'll start asking these folks some of those questions. So to start, is there any concern that current HashPack and Ledger users will use Ledger Live instead once HBAR is added to that platform?
Actually, it's good for users, right? It's good for everyone. Ledger, adding Ledger Live makes it easier for the users to put stuff on. I heard that they're also looking into token support and NFT support. So that's even great news for Ledger users. If Ledger makes a killer app that makes it super easy to use them, then by all means, go use Ledger. And if you want to use HashPack for our features, such as secure trade or the signing capabilities, use HashPack. And if someone else makes a wallet and they're better than HashPack, go for it, And if you feel like you want to make a wallet that's better than HashPack, go for it. Happy to have you.
That is awesome. That is the right attitude to grow the ecosystem. So another question asked during Tyler's presentation, does it permit signing of a Hedera transaction, like using it to sign into 100% DEX for, say, trade transactions?
I think that was about HashConnect, I would assume. So yeah, the idea is that it'll offload the signing of all Hedera transactions into HashPack, yeah.
Right.
And also, we didn't touch on it, but it will also support smart contracts as well. So yes, anything that you want to sign on the Hedera SDK will be able to sign securely using HashConnect. And then once Hedera rolls out Smart Contracts 2.0, we will also be integrating that as well. So then you can sign your smart contracts with HashConnect.
Yeah, that's really good. And I think the community is really excited and waiting for that capability. So there is another question. Does Hashgraph allow for the creation of coins similar to that of ERC20 tokens? That might be a question more for Hedera, and I'm happy to take that one. The short answer is yes. With the Hedera token service, you can create and manage fungible and also non-fungible tokens. So anything that you might need for gaming or stable coins or anything like that, art, whatever, you can create it with the Hedera token service. So another question here for the HashPack team. What makes HashPack different from other browser extension wallets for HBAR?
For HBAR is interesting. I think the answer to that question is that we are actively developing new features that are helping developers sign into Hedera and use Hedera. That is our focus as a company. And I don't think that there are other wallets out there that are trying to build those tools. And instead, they're just focused on being a wallet. And we kind of want to be more than that.
Outstanding. All right. So there is a question it's worded quite strangely. So maybe I'll just ask Tyler to speak more, or Nick to speak more about the password encryption. And do you encrypt the password or a hash of the password, and where is that information stored?
Nick, do you want to?
Yeah, we encrypt a hash of the password. It's stored in local storage on the browser, but it's encrypted when it's not in use. So if the wallet is inactive for a little bit, or if a timer expires, or you close your browser, it's re-encrypted.
Got it.
A little bit. So, well, actually, let me touch on that just a little bit more. So when you first log into HashPack, you are asked to supply a 12-letter password. We chose 12 letters just because it is way more secure than, say, an 8-letter password. So that is the reason we kind of forced that on. And then any secure information, and actually any account information, is saved using that password and encrypted using that password. So that means that if the person doesn't have your password, but they have access to your computer, they still can't access your sensitive data without knowing your password. And so that includes private keys, that includes your account ID. All of that information is encrypted in local storage on your browser. And then when you put your password into the app, then it decrypts it and gets your private key so that you can sign transactions.
Perfect. All right, so there's a question for Tyler. And Tyler, I know you said you didn't want to cover the decision-making that went into choosing a framework, but this question is, why do you guys choose to use Angular over Vue or any other framework like React? If you want to get into those details briefly.
Yeah. So it's very simple. I don't know React or Vue. I've been using Angular since it came out back in like 2010, and I use it at my day job. So most effective tool for me for the job. Nothing against those other frameworks. Like I understand the framework wars are a thing, but yeah, I just love Angular, and I like Google. So
that sounds good. That's all that matters. All right. Is the Wallet Extensions API for things like calling or signing a transaction via HashConnect, will it be accessible from a native Java Dex app on desktop?
So the HashConnect is being distributed as the NPM package. So however you can use that, I don't know much about Java. I don't think you can use a NPM package in Java. But yeah, so at the moment, it's meant for kind of JavaScript based environments. Yeah.
Great. All right. There is a question that I'm sure is popular with the community right now. And the question is, staking in HashPack? ?
Yes, eventually. Whenever the details come out, I'm sure that it makes a lot of sense to integrate that.
Excellent. Great to hear it. How did HashPack get secure buy sales of NFTs without an RPC protocol? Or does this mean that marketplaces are now bound to come?
First, let me just comment on the use of the term RPC protocol. It's a term that has really picked up in the community lately, and I think people are tossing it around because someone said somewhere that Hedera doesn't have an RPC, and this doesn't really work. RPC is a protocol, and Hedera does use gRPC, which is a type of protocol, and it's performant. It's a very low-level one, and then you have JSON RPC, which is used by other chains, and that is what makes WalletConnect work with MetaMask and that kind of thing. And Hedera is not compatible with that. So when people say that Hedera doesn't have an RPC protocol, it's incorrect. It's just that Hedera's protocol is incompatible with Ethereum and other chains. So the question is, how did we get buys and sells of NFTs ? Let's toss out the RPC protocol part. And the answer is that we use the tools and the SDK for Hedera to manage a secure signing of the transaction for the words fail me. We use the Hedera SDK, and it's built into the platform. And if you can figure it out, you can message me on Discord, and I can tell you if you're right or not. But it's a little bit technical to get into here. But yeah, it is secure, and it's possible because of Hedera.
Perfect. Any plans for a predictable cipher with each account ID? So if someone wants to send funds to an HP user, they will be asked for the ciphertext with an account ID, preventing wrong account transfers.
Go for it.
Okay, so there's not really any plan for that specifically, but maybe a solution that addresses that in the future. We've been talking about something like that.
Perfect. All right. And will HashPack ever support multisig?
It does.
All right, that is answered. Excellent. Will you please explain more about the proposed use of MoonPay as a potential on-ramp? Similarly, what are the potential POS implications?
Currently, we only use MoonPay to on-ramp fiat into HBAR. So basically, if you want to turn your money into HBAR, you can do that in our app using MoonPay, which is a third-party service. As for paying for things using MoonPay or paying for things using HBAR, that is something that the community is really, really interested in implementing. But there are a lot of steps and a lot of regulations and things like that that are kind of holding us back from implementing that, but we're definitely interested. And MoonPay is not the only service. As time goes on, we'll definitely be implementing more.
All right. So another question that came is the custom metadata parser you wrote open source and something that another developer could use in their project for displaying NFTs?
It's not. It's kind of just like there's a library called Object Search, I think, which we implemented, and then we're just using regex to look at for like IPFS CID patterns. Maybe, I mean, if it would be useful, maybe that's something we could look into. Yeah.
I mean, the problem with making this metadata parser open source is it's really ugly. The code is so complicated, and like NFT metadata is so complicated that if you want to support all the NFTs, it just takes so many like switch statements and if else statements. And really the solution should, rather than putting out a library like this, the solution should be that the market and the space should just settle on some standards, and we should just make it easy to implement. So you don't even need a library. That's my answer.
That's a good one. That is a good answer. All right. So there's a question here, maybe part for Hedera and part for HashPack. But what industry standard are you using for NFT storage and metadata? And what do you see are the main ones being used? And what I want to say there is, you know, I see a lot of people using IPFS, Filecoin, and also the NFT storage solution, which basically abstracts a little bit of the complexity of dealing with IPFS directly. And then I think this is also a timely question for that discussion that you're leading, May, about standardizing, you know, the NFT metadata that is associated with these assets. Do you want to talk more about that?
Sure. NFT storage is a very interesting one, and IPFS also is a very interesting case. IPFS is a decentralized file system that lets you put your files on the web, and right now you can put it on for free. And the reason you can put it on for free is that there are services that have some sort of funding or some sort of grants that have let them offer the service for free, probably as a way to get people using IPFS. And the big question, if you're thinking about minting, if you're thinking about storing things on IPFS, the big question is, how are you guaranteeing that your data is secured and won't disappear if those services disappear? And the answer is actually not that hard. If you just do a little bit of research into IPFS and you figure out how to run your own node, which is not expensive, it's actually very easy, then you can mitigate those risks. So the answer of, you know, what are the standards of storing data long-term and this kind of thing, it's not really something that should be determined by a big organization like Hedera or something like that, but rather it should be answered by your specific use case. And how long do you want that data to persist? And how do you specifically guarantee that your data will persist as long as you need it for? So if you would love, if you want to talk to me about it in the Discord or talk to my team about it, like we would love to. But other than that, yeah, do your research and don't be afraid to ask the hard questions.
Excellent. I love that you welcome the tough questions from the community. So will a HashPack user wallet account include a Circle subaccount for USDC under the primary HashPack Circle business account?
Yeah, that's kind of a tricky one, right? Because Circle has its own like chain basically. So we have to figure out the details of that, and we're very interested in it. But our first glimpse at it is that it's going to take a bit of work. So,
all right. There's a really interesting question about geolocation and its implications on performance. So will the geolocation of the user and the mirror node you plan to operate in the future impact performance latency that the user will experience?
Yep. Or
no, go ahead.
I mean, the answer is yes. Where your node is in the future, where in the world will affect it. But maybe Nick has something more fancy to say.
No, that's basically what I was going to say. It definitely has an impact. You know, where we are in the world. Maybe if there's a way to mitigate that, we can investigate. But I think we're too new into it with the the mirror node stuff.
I mean, the answer, yeah. Oh, go for it.
I was just going to say, eventually it would be nice to implement some sort of CDN on our mirror node data so it's distributed all across the world. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
There you go.
Very nice. What roadmap feature not built yet are the team members most excited to deliver for the ecosystem?
Let's answer that one by one. Yeah, I'll start. The thing that I'm most interested in right now myself is digital identity. And okay, it's not on the roadmap, but this is my my passion project. So once we get up there, I really would love to do some digital identity stuff. Tyler?
Yeah, great question. So the reason I was actually initially interested in working on this project was because I wanted to build like a game, but I didn't want to ask people to input their like private keys or like an app, and I didn't want to ask people to put private keys in. So that's why I was interested in this project, because eventually that's what we're trying to do, right? Is with the HashConnect stuff. So I'm just excited to get HashConnect out so I can build stuff on top of it. On to you, Nick.
I'm excited about kind of what people are going to do with HashConnect. I'm working on maybe using the DEX stuff or the swaps or something that are coming out. I think that's going to be interesting to integrate. I've always found that kind of fascinating, the DeFi stuff. It also maybe like kind of single factor authentication solution or something like that. That's kind of something we've been tinkering with.
Awesome. Those are great answers, and all of those sound pretty exciting. One question circling back to May, can you elaborate on the multisig? Will it be a multisig vault, and will each signature be cross-compatible with different HBAR wallets?
Can you allow me to be the CEO here and just say, yeah, we'll definitely handle multisig. I'll get back to you on that. It's definitely a key feature of Hedera. And so absolutely, we are going to do what we need to do in order to make it work. Right now, we don't have that like specifically implemented where you can have a multisig vault or something like that. But I do know that you can have multi-sig transactions using HashConnect by passing around the transaction body. I think that that's not too difficult. So more complicated schemes will have to be figured out. And if there's any hiccups in the development of that, then we talk to Hedera directly and we make something work. But it's important, absolutely. Oh, and also, will each signature be cross-compatible with different HBAR wallets? Signatures are not specific to wallets, so it doesn't really matter.
All right. As we approach the last 10 minutes, maybe the last few questions, what has been the most challenging part of the development process for HashPack, both technically and framework-wise?
I can take that one. I think one of the big things is that we focused a lot on kind of the groundwork of the wallet, because like when we released, we really only had like you could send transactions, view your transactions, and that was mostly it. And we spent kind of the 6 months building that, coming up with a solid architecture that was easy to grow, basically. So that in itself is a challenge. As well as the ledger stuff. The ledger stuff was not fun. It's just poorly documented. Working with hardware like that is not my specialty, so it was pretty painful. I leaned on Nick a lot for that. Yeah, that was a pain. And the NFT stuff was okay. It was kind of fun, but it definitely was a challenge to kind of get the data loading. That's kind of the hard part there, was getting all the data loading. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, those are fair and very good challenges that the team overcame. All right, one more question or two more questions. Compatibility with smart contracts. What work will it entail for HashPack, and what issues are top of mind when it comes to integration with smart contracts?
So the biggest thing about the way that smart contracts work and the way that EVM works is that there's something called a provider which interacts with the Ethereum nodes that doesn't exist on Hedera as a concept. And so we are looking into working with Hedera to build that in so that people who come from Ethereum can just kind of port their code over and access the providers that they need to make the transition seamless. Those kind of like fundamental things are the kind of things that we have to solve, and we're working with Hedera to put that together. So yeah, other than that, it's just getting the code together, telling Tyler to do the work. Also, on the note of the ledger stuff, even though Tyler said it was really tough and Nick said it was really, really tough, they banged that out in like a weekend. It was crazy. And then finally, one more thing is Jacob wants to chime in here for the thing that he's excited about in the HashPack roadmap. And he said swing trading in-app or cross-chain stuff. So that's his answer.
Excellent. Hey, Jacob. Good to have you with us watching. And the last question to send it off is, did the HashPack team collaborate with the HBAR Foundation in any capacity in the vision and execution of this project?
We actually started talking to HBAR Foundation pretty close to when we were about to launch. And definitely HBAR Foundation has given us some great leads, some connections, and we have talked with them about where the app is going or where the wallet is going. And they've told us like, well, this is what we see coming up on the horizon, and maybe you guys could possibly build towards that. And so it's a collaborative process that we are really happy to have working out with them. So yeah.
All right, great. So those are all the questions that we have. We have about 5 minutes left. And May, Nick, Tyler, any last closing remarks, any closing thoughts?
Well, HBAR to the moon.
All right. So with that, we'll thank you again, the HashPack team. This was a great overview for developers, your infrastructure, the technical challenges that you've been able to overcome. And we also want to thank the community for tuning in and spending some time with us today. So good talking to you all. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, the stream